Hello.
We are aware of the subject matter, sir.
All right. So, is there any questions that arise? Because we also, Dr. Gono and Dr. Magaisa are talking to this issue. Is there any question that arise from there before I make any observations?
Okay, maybe one from my end. First of all, allow me to thank you for this glorious opportunity to interact with you and share with your vast experience. I genuinely and profusely appreciate that, and I'm eternally grateful. In terms of questioning, basically, one of the questions that I just wanted to probably maybe get a bit of more insight is when we talk of mechanization, what is the scope really in terms of mechanization? Are we referring to, or rather, let me ask to say, which is the most effective way of mechanization? Is it mechanizing individual farms or mechanizing community in general? What I mean by that is, let's say we take a certain area where you've got a number of small-scale farmers or large-scale farmers. Which is the most impactful way of mechanizing? Is it building infrastructure that is used communally as a shared resource, or capacitating each and individual farm? That would be my question in terms of maybe just getting the ball rolling.
All right. If we are referring to this dispute in relation to the Reserve Bank's role in what they classify as mechanization, then we need to be specific to that. That was not mechanization. That was theft in the name of mechanization. That whole scheme was premised on the Reserve Bank undermining the constitutional order, where public resources are allocated through parliament and then allocated to departments of government. At the material time, there was a government presumably functioning. Parliament was not dissolved. The ministries were not abolished. For another organ of state to then assume the functions of a government. So what then happened, in order to steal foreign currency and give the Reserve Bank the power to monopolize the foreign exchange market, the Reserve Bank then under Gono took the posture of a government in a government, where a clause in the Reserve Bank Act was abused to create the impression that the Reserve Bank was authorized, or the president could authorize the Reserve Bank to substitute organs of state. So if you have to provide equipment as government, there are departments that are established for that purposes. If it's financing, there are banks, including specialized institutions like Agribank, to be able to transmit credit. And then the farmer or the beneficiary will then buy the equipment of their choice. Then have the Reserve Bank interpose itself in the supply chain of equipment. I don't know whether that answers the question.
Yes, certainly, I am answered. Thanks a lot.
So any other question? Hello? Hello, any other question? Silence means there are spectators in this group. You want me to say, as the convener of a Congress where we have equal voices, you want me to be able to influence your mind, and you don't want to share your thoughts on what the public debate is all about. The reason I called this meeting was to avoid a binary where Magaisa becomes the author of a narrative which can be then attacked on personal grounds, and other people will be accused of being agents of foreign parties in a discussion of mechanization. So is there anyone with an observation, comment, or question, so that we make it interactive and a dialogue rather than a monologue? Hello? I see.
Hello, Mr. Mawere.
Yeah, I'll go ahead, yeah.
Yeah, myself, I'm not quite, but I'm just trying to get a full understanding of the mechanization before I can put my inputs. I would want to get a deeper understanding before I answer wrongly. So I want to.
You mean the Reserve Bank mechanization or mechanization in general?
The Reserve Bank mechanization, it is what is the topic, which is
Yeah, there was no mechanization.
So why is it being called mechanization?
Because it was a scheme to deceive the president at the time.
Okay, which was
That
President Robert Mugabe.
black farmers are vulnerable, they are exposed, they don't have balance sheets. So the Reserve Bank is buying on behalf of these idiots who cannot scope their own equipment. So if we give them money, they will drink beer.
That's right.
So these are kids in farming. So they need a big brother called the Reserve Bank to procure the equipment and deliver the equipment as part of government assistance. And at the time, you can imagine what the president was told about the ministries, that don't trust any ministry to handle public funds. Yours truly, the governor, knows best.
Yes, which was then Gideon Gono by then.
That's right. Then he would give money to people to buy equipment or decide who should bring the equipment.
Which
And
is
then
also
pay money
tenders,
to the supplier.
Which is also tendering without due processes.
It's not tendering, it's direct sourcing and negotiating the entry price. If there's a commission of 10%, you pay 10% to the one who gives you the contract without going to tender. And guess how many people became rich in the Reserve Bank?
Yes. Now, I previously saw the article of the beneficiaries of this scheme, which were totaling more than 200 something powerful ZANU-PF supporters, which was also streamlined to a certain particular organization, and as a way of buying loyalty in the pretense of this initiative called mechanization. And it is appalling to learn this, and as public to open eyes at this particular stage. And it is also appalling to learn that we had opposition by that time. They had not raised these issues. We had committees that were responsible in this agriculture sectors. They did not even raise the issue in the parliament or to challenge this through legal routes. And it's appalling to learn about it right now. And that really speaks volume in the government of then Robert Mugabe and the present government we have, that we are in a state where there is no constitution, and a state of Madiro in Shona, we can say that. It is something that really has to be dealt with. But the question is, who will deal with in the present moment? As we can see, the state capture at its peak, where the Chief Justice is actually ordering all the smaller courts to submit their judgments to him before they can handle handed over the judgment.
I think now you're going beyond let's deal with the character and personality of this scheme.
Mm-hmm.
Was it a mechanization scheme, or was it a disguised mechanization scheme?
It was totally a disguised mechanized scheme. It was only an instrument to loot.
No, I'm saying let's not go to the looting first. Let's understand the character and personality of this. And let's understand the reasoning behind it. Mm-hmm. You may not accept my own take on it. You may have your own knowledge of it, so that those who are participating, we can hear each other and understand each other. So any other comment? Love Mo has given his own take. And is there any other comment?
No, thank you, Mr. Mawere. I would like then to ask, if it was mechanization, the recipients then, did they use the equipment for its intended use, or it was kept, or it was sold? In as much as we don't know the farming activities that they were doing on those farms, but is there knowledge on the actual end result of that equipment that was taken?
Imagine yourself, you were to penetrate the mind of the authors of this scheme at the time it was authored or thought of. Let's say Dr. Gono is one of the actors in authoring this scheme. Is it your opinion that it was a bona fide scheme, or it was a scheme to deceive somebody, that land reform does work and that people of Zimbabwe are helpless, and that the government can command outcomes, and the Reserve Bank is the best placed institution to be able to redirect resources towards a national objective? So it's important to find establish the state of mind of the actors.
Yeah,
Because
the minds of the actors, like we said, it was a disguise, only just to divide or try to make or lip-sticking the system of personal gains from the national interest, using the mechanization to beef up the.
Maybe love more for now, we can say it's an allegation.
Yes.
I'm making an allegation that there was no farm mechanization program.
Yes.
That
indeed.
was a way of extracting primitive rent from the unsuspecting public and public policy makers.
That's right.
That
another question that I would want to ask, was this mechanization done publicly, or was within the circles of ZANU-PF Central Committee and their structures?
No, I'm saying is that Gono, if you were a friend of Gono, you would get it.
Yes.
But if
Absolutely.
he didn't like you, there was no mechanization for you.
Amen to that.
So this was a scheme developed and executed outside the four corners of government. That is accountable.
Yes, yes, yes.
So there was never an intention to be accountable on the part of Gono. That's why even after he's no longer governor, no one in the Reserve Bank can defend it.
That's true.
Even the current Minister of Agriculture cannot even attempt to defend it, because nobody knows except Gono what the scheme was all about.
Yes, even if that was there a contractual agreement in receiving those funds and those
No,
agents.
it was never meant to. It's like saying, let's go to auction. It has nothing to do with giving the exporter, the one with free funds, the exchange rate that is market determined. It is a way of taking export proceeds. On the other hand, you are told within 30 days, you must convert to Zim dollars, or there will be an automatic conversion. So there's no intention at all to make the holder of Forex get the right exchange rate or the market determined exchange rate. It may not be right, but at least I know that I have freedom to give up my scarce foreign currency for something of equivalent value to me. So there was never intention of the farmer having the choice. And let alone determining whether the price or the loan was the equivalent of what I can buy elsewhere. So the beneficiaries were never meant to dispute the value of the loan. That's why it could never be a loan.
That's right.
Because the bank has no business in buying equipment for me.
Which is true. That's why you said earlier on, we are alleging right now that the scheme was meant to benefit individuals, and I call it earlier on to say that was to me is now so apparent.
No, I'm saying is, Mr. Chukwueze, before we get apparent, let's deal with the facts. Let's say even if the equipment went to MDC, let's try to interrogate the role of the Reserve Bank in the supply of equipment on its own.
So the role of the
Yeah,
Reserve Bank was just only used as a catalyst first. The
Thank you.
the fund.
I don't know, but you may know better about the state of mind of Gono at the time. But
To me,
if I may.
okay, come in.
Yeah, thank you. My own take is that as a follow-up to the program, the mechanization program was a good follow-up. I would agree with many that have said that the execution was saddled with corruption. That's a fact that has been established. I would also agree with those that would say that the Reserve Bank was not the best institution to do all the procurement, the distribution, all the processes. The main question, as we noticed at the time, fundraising for government, but the actual distribution of the equipment could have been done by other agencies of government. That would also have limited the corruption. And the procurement of the equipment, there is no transparency on how the contracts to supply the equipment were granted and the prices at which the state procured that equipment. Again, an avenue for corruption. So my take is, as a natural follow-up to the rent reform, yes, the thinking was correct, but the execution was not done very well. Thank you.
Okay, no, thanks, Brian. And my only comment is that a battle starts in the mind. And if the mind contains a bad idea, it can never be good in execution.
yes, that's very true. That is
So,
very, very true.
so the people who were architects of this program had no business doing what they say they were doing. For years, agriculture had been supported through instruments, through banks, through other institutions. Why, in this manner, why use the Reserve Bank?
But Mtungwa,
Who
you and me know
authorized the
that.
Reserve Bank to be an intermediary?
But Mtungwa, you and me know at the time that the Reserve Bank was basically running another government from the RBZ. So there are so many other things that they did beyond the farming.
But that's what
sector.
we are reviewing. That let's review in hindsight. How do we make the government and its actors accountable to the people when in designing programs, there's no provision for transparency and openness? The reason why the government is not one branch, the reason why we have the judiciary, parliament, and the executive is that we have a pot that has 3 legs, not 1 leg. So it provides for checks and balances. And in this matter, we see only one actor defending a command structure. Yet the Ministry of Agriculture, Ministry of Finance, they have no clue as to what happened, who got what, when, the price. The only person who has that information is the person who is no longer working for government.
And
there is no one in government today who can step forward and defend that program and say it was 200 million, this went to this went to that. And who was the person gatekeeping that? Who made sure that bona fide farmers got the equipment?
Yeah,
Is there
let's look
anyone
at,
you see step, including the president?
so I was going to say, Mchungwa, if you look at Command Agriculture now, from what we read in the papers, they are talking of amounts in excess of $3 billion. I don't know if it's US dollars or it's same dollars, but from what I've read, it's US dollars. Again, who is benefiting from that equipment? Is there transparency in terms of the procurement of that equipment and the way that is it's distributed? Have we, the
That's what
public?
I'm saying is when we, the citizens, we must be literate to understand what government is, what public funds are, what public trust is, and what public property is and is not. Then we can be able to depoliticize, because the way this thing is coming, there are people who are saying this was, we are against it because the equipment went to ZANU-PF members in the majority. Not that this thing was bogus from day one.
Yeah. And again, if I may, as the public, as Zimbabweans, we have learned nothing over time in terms of our engagement and seeking probity from government, because they are now talking of another round of this Command Agriculture. Yet they haven't told us who benefited from the previous one. And
they will not tell you, because the person who knows the beneficiaries and who bribed people with equipment, judges, MPs, government ministers, they were all queuing to one maker. And that maker, the chief imam was none other than Gono.
Yeah, we have a problem of weak institutions that eventually end up unaccountable, and the people ourselves, we are not engaged to really demand answers. This is only coming up 13 years after it was done, and
it came up before, but we are not organized. Do you know that Gono gave $2 million to another company called AMG, Afaras Mtausi Gwaradzimba, $2 million US?
No, I don't
as
know
a gift to buy shares.
Using public funds.
No, obviously Gono didn't go to heaven to get a ticket or a PIN number to God's vault.
Yeah, it's a difficult, but the biggest problem is our lack of engagement as Zimbabweans in key public policy matters. As a result, corrupt characters end up taking the whole bag to their private homes.
No, it's not our problem. It's my problem, because we are not. We have this session to say, guys, let's take this debate about public funds, public trust, to a level which we can be understood. Imagine we are 16 of us here, and we have, if we think it's important to dig deeper, we can get organized and write a letter to the people who interviewed to Magaisa to say, Magaisa, you are the moment you talk about ZANU-PF beneficiaries and produce a list, then the debate about public funds is eroded, because these guys are going to defend themselves and say, this is what is Trump versus the Democrats, Republicans versus Democrats. You can't impeach me.
Yeah, my take on that, Segurum Tuma, is this issue is political, and you can't run away from that fact. The people who benefited from the program, majority of them are actually people who belong to ZANU-PF. And the very same people legislated the bill that transported the burden to the taxpayer. So whenever you raise that issue, it becomes political because the repercussions actually have a severe impact on their electability.
No, but if you don't try, I'm saying, Farai, if you don't try to wake up and say there's one small victory that Obadiah Moyo is no longer a minister because somebody took the next step. Otherwise,
yes, but,
there was
but
no
having
exit badge for him.
Yeah, but having Obadiah Moyo as not as a minister really does not help with much
No,
to
just
the generality.
Gono, Mafemo.
Yeah, I think what we need to do on this matter is actually to delve deeper into the impact. So my take is that this matter even affects whether elections can be credible in Zimbabwe or not. Because what we've seen just out of this scheme is high levels of looting. People are looting millions on their own, 500,000. And this is only just one scheme over a period of 13 years. How many schemes were rolled during that period? And the beneficiaries, are they different? More likely that it is the very same beneficiaries.
But Farai, we are raising this as who? As pop stars, silos, loose cannons, what are we?
Well, I agree with the idea of forming a forum that raises a voice collectively.
That discusses about mechanization, about the role of the state in agriculture. Where did we come from during the colonial days? How was agriculture financed? It doesn't mean there was no corruption, but at least there was output.
Yes, but if you look at what I'm averse to is a situation where we divorce this discussion from the political arena, whereby if people are in the echelons of power and they're stealing and stealing, when you come and say we are removing you or democracy is removed.
No, you're not removing. You just want particulars. At least Magaisa managed to provoke Gono to come out of the closet. I had not seen Gono for years. At least I saw he's still alive.
Yeah, he's still alive and still very gullible.
No, I'm just saying is that what would have taken Gono to say, fuck off, I'm not going to answer.
So what are you proposing in this instance?
Huh?
What are you really proposing in
I'm saying is I'm saying is there is hope that at least when questions are properly structured, people will be provoked to respond. But if I say I want to take you out of government, they say go to hell, because you're not the only one who counts. We may be wrong, but we don't know where we are wrong. Right now, that's why what provoked me to talk about this, to look at this farm mechanization scheme, whether indeed it was a scheme or indeed it was a disguised scheme.
Yeah, but if it was disguised, also important.
Then let's have the understanding, a shared understanding of what a farm mechanization scheme would look like in a constitutional democracy.
That is agreed, but you've got to look at the timing as well of this scheme. This scheme was rolled out in 2007, 2008, when Zimbabwe was facing watershed elections. So hence I'm emphasizing.
No, I'm saying is whatever it is, corruption has no age, has no timeline. If the thing smells like corrupt, it will be corrupt whether it was done at midnight or during the day.
This was a clearly corrupt scheme. There's no question behind it.
That's why the list on where the corruption is, because the governor has given his own defense. He says this money came from profits of the Reserve Bank. It was not part of the debt assumption amount. That's his position. Then he changes it. He then says it was a loan after being asked, but before he says it was not a loan. Then he goes further to say the Reserve Bank is a separate institution. So whatever comes out of the Reserve Bank cannot automatically qualify to be public funds.
Yeah, but we know that is not true.
No, that's your version. Let's we have heard his version. And then let's also deal with the alternative version that is well reasoned, rather than say Gono
But
was wrong, because
Mr. Mawere,
there are people who believe that government is everything.
Mr. Mawere,
The president can command you, can tell you do this, do that, and whether it's illegal or not, because it has come from the head of state, my job is to legalize it and implement it.
yes, Mr. Mawere, even if the funds were from the profits or were from whatever situation it is, still remains public funds. And
that's your version.
central.
What he is saying is, I've got a board of directors, I have a separate legal persona, I have the Reserve Bank Act, and within the four corners of the Reserve Bank Act, these 200 million Magaisa politicized an issue that should be within the purview of the Reserve Bank and its corporate governance structures.
Yes, beside that, we can still dispute that this involves public funds and request an accountability.
But you dispute it, what locus do you have to dispute it when it's when this Reserve Bank is governed by an act of parliament?
Was it approved by the parliament?
No, he's saying that the money in question never came from public funds. It came from profits generated within the four corners of the Reserve Bank. And as
yes,
such,
as long as the money is still in the coffers of the Reserve Bank, still belongs to public funds.
Yeah, then it's parliament that has oversight. When has the parliament of Zimbabwe ever reviewed? They called Gono, he gave them that explanation, and apparently nobody has taken it forward. So if you have representatives who are in parliament and you are not pushing them to do what you elected them to do, then don't blame Gono.
So this scheme was flawed from the day it was started to be authored, from the first.
No, that is the inquiry that we are asking for, an inquiry to determine the veracity of the version that Gono is given in relation to what we know to be the manner in which a government ought to operate.
Yes, and we also don't need binoculars to understand the mechanization as a scheme to benefit individuals.
No, that's what we then ask, that if it's a mechanization scheme, then who appointed the Reserve Bank? Under what authority, under what legal authority was the Reserve Bank put in the position that it then played?
Do we have the evidence of the author or the person who gave this?
No, he says that he was he consulted the higher scheme, which means it was the president and perhaps the vice president.
He consulted, which means himself, was he the author?
No, he was requested to intervene.
By who?
By the authorities above him, which means you can listen to the video, and then let's translate that into text. Exactly what did he say?
It's not clear from his submissions who was it, because there is no one who is accountable.
Let's get to the submission, then say it's not clear, because
if you listen to Temba,
clear that there is a provision in the Reserve Bank Act.
Yeah, if you listen to Temba Mlitso's submission, he simply said that they benefited, and most of them, they benefited differently. And his closure to the submission, he says, you must also wait for another land reform program and you can benefit.
Politics with people's lives, they're making it a joke.
but he's even if we can take
Who
it as a
is
joke,
he
but
representing Temba?
he himself as a thief.
No, if he knew better, he'll be the first one to resign.
He represents himself as a thief. That's why he said you must benefit,
No,
and
I'm
he said
saying is, but
clearly.
he's still in parliament.
And who has got the power to take him out?
The
When you've got
people.
broken institutions, which
No, I'm saying
people?
is let's deal with the people who delivered the money in form of equipment, and then let those who respond to something. But let's understand what government is, because we can talk among ourselves and say this one said this one said that. If it's Gono who said it, then there must be a way to take this debate forward.
Yes, but
As part
like,
3.
Like we have clearly understood that really the scheme was a scheme to benefit, and we understand that it has not followed procedurals to come into an effect, and then it is not clear who authored, and it is not clear who clearly authorized it, and it is not clear that who was
No, I
supposed
said
to
let's
be.
my plea to you is let's go through the video and take notes.
Okay, please.
Yeah, then we can then deal with facts. If there's anyone else, Labmo has given his piece, but Batana has given his piece, and Farai, is there anyone else who believes that this matter ought to be interrogated further? Is there anyone else?
Mr. Mawere.
Yeah.
I just want to go a bit back I was listening to the discussions from the time that we started, but I want to go back to the aspect of Temba trying to play politics. When he said, yes, he got the farm implements, and when he got the farm implements and everybody else also got the farm implements, those who didn't should wait for the next land reform program. Tell me, where is the next land reform program going to come from? Because as far as I'm concerned, land is a finite resource. There is no way that you wake up tomorrow and your size of land is increased by about 1,000, by about a square kilometer, or by a kilometer as per se. It does not gravitate into the sea and increase slightly. So by that narrative, it actually defies whatever some certain assertions think, like what Temba was saying, that when there's another land reform program which comes next time, and then you can also benefit, where is it going to come from? Because as far as I'm concerned, the land which was got or which was obtained by the people who got land, it's all the part of the land that we have in Zimbabwe. There is no another piece of land that will wake up one day and we've got another new piece of land where we are going to go and do another land reform program. Anyway, be that as it may, this was the greatest looting of our time. Why do I say so? Mwana mudiki, a girl, akafirwa nevabereki due to HIV and AIDS, who is in the rural areas looking after the household. And parizvino akada kutsvaga mari yeshuga anonoita maricho, and then nemari yekutenga mafuta anonoita maricho. Then when she comes back, she actually pays tax on the products which she has done maricho on. She pays VAT. Reserve Bank has no field of foreign currency, which one day they can grow foreign currency. We can say they've grown foreign currency here, and immediately after they've had a harvest. You see, any foreign currency is generated by the taxpayer, including this girl and that Aura. Why does such little girl, akafirwa nevabereki, who has gone to do maricho, to buy sugar and mafuta, pay for the bill of people who have been ministers for 28 years. Remember when it happened in 2008, there are people like him, the current president now, he's been a minister for 28 years. The former president, he's been the head of state for 28 years. And why couldn't those people fund their own implements instead of being funded by a small girl whose parents had died, who does maricho, to buy a packet of sugar or to buy 2 liters of mafuta? I'm telling you, that was the greatest, that's the greatest looting of our time. I'm also prepared to say that this issue doesn't have to end here. Thank you.
So I think that's thank you, Mr. Mgwagwa. I think the timber issue, it just goes a long way towards exposing that the people who benefited out of this have no qualms about the offense in terms of constitutionalism. They are actually saying, my friend, if you are not in the bus, tough luck. And we got the equipment, and we are not going to pay for it. So if you don't want to pay for it, it annoys, like we did. So effectively, he's saying the right gesture. And that's how our government works. If they demand money from you, just behave like an animal, you get your way. So he is encouraging people to be lawless, and yet he is an honorable member of parliament. And that is the challenge we have, that the very people you expect to be accountable and to oversee government already have a position on how they must perfect the undermining of the very system that makes them MPs. Who needs an MP who can tell you, my friend, go to hell, find your own devices. The next land reform, you must take it from where we are. Then you go to Tyson, you go to Shuao. They are being asked to give up land. That's what he's saying, that if a government that you don't like is in government, then tough luck, my friend. Invent your own war, and then you'll be included. And if you don't have equipment, go to your governor and say it happened before. Why can't we get equipment but not to ask anyone to repay? That's what he's saying. In short, he's saying, I'm not accountable. And I'm telling the very people who are complaining, the Joe public, that tough luck. Independence was about first come, first serve. When I need something, I get it on my terms. And Gono had to relent because we told him we are not going to pay back. So that's the essence of it. Why is he saying that? He's saying that because he knows that the people he looks up to are all compromised. And nobody in government would come before a committee of parliament where the parliamentarians themselves are not also compromised with the cars that they get, with the allowances that they get. So this is a government of economic rents.
That's why, sorry, Mr. Moere, to cut you. That's why Batanai was alluding earlier on that, okay, we got a way forward. What is our way forward from here? And earlier on, you say that we should take steps by step. When we say, okay, we have this noble discussion and understanding what should be done, and we understanding the breach of constitution, unconstitutional ways of acquiring funds from the public reserve bank without due consideration of who should be accountable to. But then we also need to look at our discussion to where we are going and the probability of provoking
what
or
I
coming
thought is
out.
that this
Yes.
this was just me provoking people to come. We
Yes.
didn't organize ourselves. It was just one
Okay.
person inviting you, but the next
Mhm.
meeting has to be those who are concerned. Then let's study what Gono said, because he's our bridge to a broader public discourse. Let's study what Dr. Magaisa is saying, what Temba, who is also on record, has said. Then we can then formulate our ideas around it, because we now have different versions. Gono has taken responsibility for authoring the scheme, and he has taken responsibility for addressing some of the questions that may arise.
Yes.
If
Also
Magaisa can write his own article, why can't we write an article and we sign it ourselves on the areas that we may have reviewed and share, and we have other platforms to share this.
Then conscientize people about it. But
And
with recognition.
then we can then say, look, we are 20 of us or 18 of us, and those who can talk to other people, they can talk to other people. Why not?
And also
we have
conscientizing
structure
people.
and order,
Yes.
rather than
But we also
can
need.
talk as much as we want here, and they may hear our voices, but it won't account to anything. And what I take note of or notice of is that a person like Magaisa, whether he's right or wrong, he has taken the next step forward.
That's
and
right. Which is
if
good.
we believe that we need to take the next step forward, why not?
That's right. But we also need to take note of our broken state institutions in terms of protecting the will of the people, protecting the rights of the people.
No, let's protect ourselves. Let's be angry as love more.
I am very much, very much.
So we want to see your anger in
that,
writing, not anger in a small toxic Zoom group.
yes, but what we always what we have to do as responsible citizens, it is to find a lasting solution. We just don't need just to speak and write, because most of things like this benefit those who are privileged to social.
No, I'm just saying is let's not talk on
like
behalf
what
of
we
people
have.
who are not here. Let's first agree who are we here, and then take the next step forward.
I understand that, but don't we need to fight as citizens responsible, as me, as Love More, being angry because I want to see change.
But I must understand what you are angry at. That's what I'm saying. Let's be angry at facts. I don't remember the whole diatribe of Gono and what he said, what he wrote, but I can pick the nuggets that I think are worth sharing.
Yes.
So that we use the people who have spoken to be the vehicle for us to be angry. I must say, Gono said this in relation to this, Sinamasa says this in relation to that. Then let's pick up those and be structured in our discourse so that we understand whether it's drugs, whether it's judge. We now have been indoctrinated with some venom to be angry.
Yes, but we must be the instruments of change that we need. We must be the movers and shakers of the change that we need. And then
but I'm
we
saying
also need.
The two of us here may not be the instruments. You may find that the people who are quiet are saying peace of love more in Mawere.
No, they want to understand.
I'm saying I'm not going to talk on their behalf. Let's ask them so that we can close we hear their voice. Otherwise, they will hear me and you.
Yes, yes. If I may, gentlemen, I was actually going to endorse the idea of coming up with a structure through which we can then use to demand accountability, transparency in the way public resources are used. And I was also going to invite those that haven't spoken to air their own views. They have a reason to be here, so that it's not just the 3 or 4 of us, but maybe half of the people that are on this group, at least to say something, so we also understand that we are on the same page of understanding. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. But because we can't complain about not being heard, and yet we are silent where it matters. So if you have, I see Andrew 20p, are you there? Are you alive? Both the video and the voice is gone. So if you are there, if Blessing, you are there, Mr. Mgwagwa, you've spoken, FQ Moyo, some is Galaxy S6 Edge, I don't know, Galaxy Tab A, KM, Leonard. If you have a voice there, please step forward and just give us your input, whether we should be structured or we should just go on like dogs barking every day.
But yeah, as they are preparing to talk and picking up their points, we can still be going ahead. And
No,
I
let's
will keep
inspire
on.
love more. Let's allow. Why should we proceed, the three of us?
No, they will be also try to find points where
No,
to interject in.
that's how democracy is now structured, where a few become the voice, and then we end up listening to our own voices.
But do you agree with me that there's also privileges of other people who can speak volume to other people?
No, let's democratize it. Let's reject the idea that we know. What I know is very small to what is to be known. Even in this group, I didn't even know who is that. I was telling you now that is Galaxy S6. There's no name. I don't know who it is. And someone says, oh, why this is powerful? Why can't we have it share on Facebook? There are people who don't even want to be known that they are alive.
That's right.
So if you are there, please, can you step forward so that we don't hear our tired voices?
So
let's
maybe
give 2 minutes, and then if there's no democracy, we adjourn until we have people who are willing to speak. Otherwise, we gather here, end up talking among ourselves, and we think we are making progress.
Yes, I would like to raise then a question. Is the issue I've been listening, but maybe I'm failing to separate the issues. Is the issue on the intent of farm mechanization, the intent that government is taking part in farm mechanization, or the issue is that corruption happened during the implementation of farm mechanization? I've been hearing the speaker.
Okay, but maybe you can give us what is your overarching issue instead of we were talking without representing you. What is it that you think is number one issue to you?
I think it's for me. If I try and remember back to 2008, I think maybe one of the issues was to do with lack of investment within the agriculture sector, due maybe to the fact that the people who had been given the land did not have a title to that land, so they could not use that land is to get loans. So looking at it, you would then think that the intent of government at that time was to give people access to capital so that they can proceed with the business of farming. And maybe this was due to the fact maybe that it was not thought of that, yes, we are giving people land, but what about the inputs? What about the equipment that would be required? So for me...
So what is the issue that you want us to go back or what?
No, I think for me, the issue is then that that part, for me, I don't have any disagreement with it. The government already does other things. Even someone was saying that even students, everyone who has gone to university, especially maybe I think during the times of grants, that was public money which was being given to a certain group of people for them to benefit and get educated. So maybe for that part, there is not much we can talk about it.
So
but
where we are today, as I thought we were provoked by Dr. Magaisa, maybe working with others, including Hopewell, including Mduduzi, Zim Life, and others, to look at the issue of the PPEs and the corruption therein. And some of the people thought that this was the circumference of corruption. So Magaisa has taken a step further to say, no, it's not just about the PPEs. It's a bigger matter. So corruption is an issue. And let's look back and see whether the journey traveled has not exposed Zimbabweans to corruption, that they may not be able to put together a comprehensive and coherent story on it. So he has looked at the beneficiaries as one case in point. So I'm saying is that's what we see. So if you believe that we need to have a coherent voice so that none of us are targeted for no bail or for whatever, for being an agent of imperialism, that this conversation is among and between people who are concerned about the future of Zimbabwe. And we are not here to fight anybody, to take anyone's side, but we are here to understand so that never again shall some of these things be repeated in the name of the public. That's one exit point. So I've heard what you have said. If there's anyone else who sees a problem, if you agree that corruption is an issue, it requires tactics and strategies to debate it, rather than somebody saying, I'm a journalist, then the next minute you say, someone must go. Let the facts take you out of office. Hello? 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 Hello?
Hello? Yes.
Yeah, identify yourself and then just...
Well, I've spoken before. My name is Farai. Initially, when I gave my input, I sort of seemed to be resistant to the matter of organizing. But I mean, it's a good plan. Happy to go with it. Maybe it will provide a collective voice that can actually bring sanity to the manner of governance and be a safeguard in the future. So I'm endorsing the idea.
So you are for order and structure. Anyone else who concurs with Farai's point of view?
I do.
Who is
I do concur with Islam more.
All right, I love more. Yeah, we've heard you. Anyone else? So that does anyone believe that for us to be heard, we need to have more structure, more order?
I do,
so
Mr. Mawere.
All right.
Yes, I do.
All right, Mr. Mgwagwa has spoken. Anyone else who believes the absent structure, then we are backing dogs.
Okay, I do. I'm Leonard.
Leonard, okay. So who else doesn't agree? We have heard people who are in the affirmative who say it's important even to talk to Magaisa, to say, Magaisa, we hear you, but don't give your enemies ammunition. Let's talk about corruption in the generic sense. And let the sword hit whoever it hits without me deciding who should be hit by it.
Hello, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Vembaye, and I also agree that we definitely need a structure where we come up together and say, all right, okay, at least I've learned to say me. In this connection, I'll start with looking at me as an individual to say, what am I going? Where am I going wrong? Because these leaders who are there, they are coming from our communities. So what kind of community is it that we have? Is it a community where it has become normal that if I want to get something done and I know like I just don't have to, now I just go there and say like, okay, drink, and then I move on because I know if I don't put a drink per table, you know, nothing happens. So I would say the first thing that we have to do as a community is where we say corruption has to be uprooted from us, Isusu Pachedu, as the first starting point. And the next point is where we are not just trying to uproot corruption from all up the offices, but starting from the grassroots together, or maybe simultaneously, from us as individuals, and then work all the way up, like expose as much as we can of this corruption that we see in situations that we get involved in, and those who have the, like, you know, there are already some people who are in a position where they can do something in their own capacities to get rid of corruption in their own, like, you know, then we stop a situation where we say we wait for others to come and do something, that the change now starts from us. I see something that is not right and I expose it, whichever way, because like these days, everybody's got a camera, everybody's got a gadget that can work as a camera. Everybody's got a platform, everybody's got a voice. See what you see. If your facts are right and you know really what you're doing is right and you saw the corruption going on, put it out there on the social media. That would be like the first one, to say, you know what are we doing ourselves as a nation? Then we have the big, you know, like what we are saying. I was saying to somebody recently that if I look at the newspapers these days, it's crazy how much is disappearing into private coffers. That at the same time, we have, you know, like the simple basic needs for medication, simple basic needs for just normal food. There is no money, there is no resource. I don't know if some of you saw this video that has been going around with people going, you know, like through the bushes to go and get to buy food in Messina. It's crazy. It shouldn't be like that, right? But it's good. People are doing what they're doing to survive. But at the end of the day, what are we doing as individuals? Because that's where I think that's where we start. If I teach my child, or my child sees me doing corrupt things, the next thing it becomes like a normality. So we start pulling out all these corruption activities within ourselves, and then from there we step it up. So that's my contribution.
All right. Anyone else?
I concur with the sister that was Tendai or Wimbai. She speaks substance, and it is imperative for us to take step forward in uprooting corruption from its core. But my concern really goes back to who do we raise it to? Do we have a listening government? Do we have institutions that can fight that?
Let's get our house in order. Let's organize ourselves, not agonize. Let's not think on behalf of the people who are not here. Those who are here, they can make a personal commitment that they want to be more organized so that the voices of us are more pronounced. And when we have an issue, let's understand its issue, ramifications, and be able to communicate. And I hear Vimbai to be saying, yes, we have a community of people who are here, but we are here because of one person who just invited randomly. Why don't we get just the names of the people who are here, share those names so that we have a mechanism? Because after we leave here, some have come in Some are peeping toms, they come and leave. And we are not organized ourselves. We don't even know who is who in the zoo. So
That's right.
can't we do those things that are under our control rather than talk about things that are not under our control? We have to negotiate with a person like Magaisa because he may think what he knows is the only truth that exists. Temba may also think, Gono may also think the same way. So
No, that's the way
why
forward.
can't we?
I concur. Put ourselves in order.
So let's
Yes.
those people who are interested, those who have we buy, if she's the only woman who is here, then we abuse her and say, why don't we become our secretary?
That's right.
And then let's communicate the resolutions of this that we need to be structured. We need to be orderly. And then this is my name, Love Mochukucha, this is what I do. And then we say, we the people, we are not here to fight politics or list. We are not here to be in government or not. What we are here is just to make sure that people are accountable.
That's right. But okay, I'll also raise issues that are not relevant to what is it, but I'm always provoked. Every time we speak, I'm always provoked because I don't see ourselves separate from the political effects. We are within, and we have to say it, and we don't have
let's get
to distance ourselves.
Let's get ourselves organized. Then we say we, the
That's
people.
Right.
Okay.
Even if you are 20, we the 20.
Okay. May I say something? You know, for those, I don't know if everybody already knows that we have a connections to communities network here in this. That's what brings us together, or where this whole conversation bases. And sorry, let me just lower the volume here on this one. The idea is, if we all know already that's the foot that we are standing on exactly like now, right? We can say all those who are in today, if we agree to say, all right, then there is a media section that I was thinking to start. Do we all want, or those who want to be part of that media session, then you raise your hand or you tell me your name and then I'll put you down. If you have already joined the C2C network, and then in that group, we can say, what is it that we want to do? And how do we want to get this information out? Because as long as we don't talk, as long as we are not organized, as long as we talk in our little social groups, nothing happens. So we have to organize, get that voice out there in a way that it will be heard. Because like now, I don't know like whether this session is being recorded or it's anyway. If we don't tell what we are doing, it will just die here. But there've been great minds that have been shared here, great information that some people don't even know. That's why you find that some of us are following an individual without not even thinking, why are we following that individual? And are we, from what we hear, how does it affect our basic lives? But we need to organize ourselves so that we are not taken for a ride by anybody. And we are saying, as we are here talking, because we know like it's Saturday afternoon or Saturday evening, we all have things that we could be doing, but we have chose to be in this meeting, right? For a reason. Right. So what are we doing with this platform that we have? We've got the radio, we've got like, you know, the C2C platform that we can use. We've got the YouTube channel that we can use. And each one of us here, I take it, has got a Facebook page. So what are we using all this information from? And we are all in different WhatsApp groups. And each group takes about 257 people at max. So how many groups are we all in combined?
Good.
So can I have the names to say, all right, we are organizing ourselves. We want to be maybe in this media group or whichever name you want us to give this group. And we are going to be active and produce something that we can use as a documentation to start fighting corruption on our own, like where we start.
You can have mine, Love Mochukucha.
Okay, Love Mochikucha, I have next.
My name is Batana Chikweni.
Okay, give me a second
Now,
to write. Wait. Chikweme, next.
Chikweni, no, yeah, I wanted
Chikwene.
to say something. Yeah, I
Yeah,
wanted
go
to say
ahead.
something while other colleagues are considering the proposal. Now,
Yeah, sure.
as we move towards a structure, are we just limiting the scope of the operation to the farm mechanization program, or we are going to define it along the broader outlines of good governance, corruption? What exactly is the scope of this animal that we
You
are
see,
conceiving?
personally, the
Right.
way I hear it, the question you are raising is relevant, and it has been raised before. How long should the shoestring be? But what is your proposal first? Do you want the shoestring to be short, or you want it to be long?
So while we are working specifically on the farm mechanization, we can work towards a longer shoestring that looks at the broader governance
But
aspects.
did you hear what Mbai said? Mbai said C to C. You know what she means by C to C?
Yeah, so that's the short-term thing that I'm talking about. While
No,
we work
that's a
towards
long term. She's saying, how do we convert Batanai into a community? Where are you, Batanai? Are you in Zimbabwe or UK?
No, right now I'm based in Addis. I'm in Ethiopia now.
All right. So imagine you are in Ethiopia, in Addis, and I just know you because of Gono's mischief. Is that sufficient?
Not quite. You need to know me better.
Better. So she is talking about building a community around different causes, but this is not the only cause. Even just building a bank for us. You know, in 1997, I was concerned in South Africa that we don't have a bank for non-resident Zimbabweans. And I started talking to people about the need for a bank. For people who know me, that's how First Bank was created. That was in 1997. Today is 23 years old. But I said, we can continue to talk. Let's build our own institutions. If I need to transfer money to Zimbabwe, why should I get this auction bullshit? When I know that there are people who are willing to pay more for my dollar. But I have to go and find them in the streets. So let's create things that are of mutual benefit, insurance, burial, all these technologies that is there. While we are talking about history, let's talk about what can we do today. So the C2C that she's talking about is that attempt to convert social media connections into a community.
So I'm not familiar with the C2C arrangement. I'll be happy to have more information on
That's
it.
right. And it's not so much the information, but to be part of something, you have to show your face, play your part, step forward and say, none of us know what needs to happen, whether we're going to meet. Yesterday, I didn't know I was going to meet with you. So I don't have a plan, Batanai. But what I do know is when we put our heads together, that's what Wimba is saying. Then it means we will know each other and do more things together.
Yeah, I'm ready to do more things with those that are willing to do that. And I will certainly
so
be.
We can tick Batanai is in for the community.
Yes.
Who else is in for connections or prostitution of issues? Those who want prostitution say yes. Those who want community say.
Yeah, I've already raised my hand, Mutuma. So, Wimba, you
Sorry,
can
what's
add
your
me
name?
in.
What's your
My
name?
name is Farai Emmanuel.
Okay, Farai Emmanuel.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. And then I see someone called Marco.
Yeah, okay.
Anyone else? Anyone else, or that's it?
I think for those that are quiet or those that are not forthcoming, it may be important to hear their submissions as well. Why not?
Yeah, that's why, but we can't force a donkey to drink water at a river.
Yeah, at least to understand what is their reasoning.
No, they may feel that they just want to come near the water to feel the coolness of water. So if you are there and you have a voice and you are privileged to have a voice, speak out. So let's give 1 minute maybe. I'm having problems with my audio, Marco, but I'm following. Yes. So you can, Marco says he's got a problem with the audio. Is that the general problem?
Okay, in the meantime, I've also added my number. I've posted my number on the chat. So if you may please send me, like, at least for those who want to join, send me your number and then I'll send you like more information on this whole thing. Okay, maybe a little definition on C2C, like connections to communities. I don't know if you had heard about it. The idea is that we as a people around the world, we've come together to say we need to build a connection, a community, virtual community where we can which can benefit us all in our different things that we are doing, right? And then, you know, maybe let's put it this way. How many of you have contacted Mr. Mawere for whatever reason, or have been following Mr. Mawere for whatever reason? Hoping that maybe if you get close to him, you will help you get a contract that you need, you know, that kind of thing. Or you talk to other people as well because you are hoping for that contract. Or you get stuck because you don't know which person to contact. So this C2C is more like a platform that would help us with that. Okay, so like connections to communities. And then in it, it's like we are on a motorway that will take us to all different destinations. And along the way, people will connect who want to do one topic together, or who want to do one form of business together, or who want to do, you know, we have some people who are looking for, like today it was an agricultural topic. And there are some who want to talk like real hard politics. They can find themselves in this whole group and talk about that and find solutions, bring up papers that they can represent, not as individuals, but as a community of people who believe in the same thing and who want to achieve the same thing. Same applies to people who may say, you know what, but we want to do mentorship. We want mentorship from the likes of Mr. Mawere or other people, like who have made it in life. Then they will have that kind of mentorship. And then we have people who might say they want to do mining, and they're looking for business partners to do mining with. Maybe they will link up and do that kind of stuff. So, but the first thing is we have to find a platform where we are meeting, where we can say, this is us. You know, there are some people that you see me on the street and you think like, can we trust her? Do we even know who she is? Right. But then this platform is giving us that base to say, you know what, we are actually human beings. We can start talking with each other from that level. Maybe some of you are doing business somewhere else and you can only achieve that business because, you know, that's what your income can like your capital can do. You hear about an extra something, you know, you can come to this whole group and say, guys, you know, I have heard of this opportunity. Those who want, it costs so much. And everybody else who's interested can take part in it, and then you share the profits. So there are so many opportunities that will come out of this motorway that we are starting. Or if you want, you can take this to be a city and say, what can we do? We are all talking about corruption. And like I said before, we have our groups that we are in. but we are not organized. So let's organize ourselves and take this as a starting platform. Sorry, I talk too much, but that's what I have to share.
Great to hear. Thank you so much.
Okay, I think let's regroup. Thank you very much. We've taken your time, and let's organize and also share in our groups.
Thank you so much.